Facebook, and he's gained a reputation for just posting very inspirational, emotional, heartwarming, feel-good pictures, pictures that renew your faith in humanity and give you all the feels and all that stuff.
And he wore a backwards hat.
All the time. He's
notable for his hats.
He's been in the same room as President Obama because one of the people that he interviewed ended up having a meeting with him. He's gone to Syria to document the refugee crisis. He has 15 million followers, I believe, currently on Facebook.
It's 17, which is
17.
So literally insane. Which, to put that in perspective, is 6 million more than the population of Greece. So, you know, congratulations, Brandon.
And so their mission is very wholesome and good, and ours is probably the opposite of that.
We have more principles.
We try. So our original stance or take was we essentially saw Humans of New York and we just wanted to figure out a way to make that funny.
I don't know, there was like, so we call it the Honey fatigue or something like that. It's like, so Humans of New York is so amazing that it's all about these great stories, these like beautiful stories in humanity. And being oversaturated with that just like automatically gives you this reflex, especially as comedians, of being like, but I just don't like good things anymore. I want to see only bad things. So we thought, what better vehicle for making fun of ourselves and all of you, I imagine, or many of you, that like what is a millennial, right? The standard idea is like you're self-centered, kind of shallow, and egomaniacal and attached to your phone always. So what better vehicle is there than a Facebook page that is devoted entirely to delivering stories of like aspiration and self-sacrifice and bravery? It's like the friction between those two ideas is what got us really excited to start this thing.
So about a year ago, we started this project. I believe we posted about 80 captions to date online. So instead of talking about it, we'll just show you a few of them so you can sort of get a feel for what we're doing.
This is our one sentence.
So pretty straightforward.
This is our shortest one.
I waited in line for 30 minutes each at Trader Joe's and Whole Foods just for those bags. So this is also our most time-intensive shoot.
And we borrowed that shirt. That's not even her shirt.
This is our next one, Alec. This is.
Oh yeah. So mostly, so we like making fun of millennials, obviously, but we are millennials, and so mostly what we do is we take from our own lives, or things that we've heard that loved ones and friends do that we want to make fun of them for and make them feel really bad about. So this one's about me, basically. It's sort of an exaggeration version of me. I did an MFA in fiction, and I thought that was really cool until I left, and then suddenly I had to work in an office where I could not have been more depressed and miserable, but I got to wear a tie, and I've been watching a lot of Mad Men, so I stayed there for 3 years. Yeah, so here's me making fun of myself there. Next is Connor.
Yeah, and so we work in an office at Elite Daily, as Turin mentioned, surrounded by millennials. So we take inspiration from all our coworkers, but most of all probably took inspiration from ourselves. I am neither a finance major, and I never lived in Murray Hill, but I did move to Brooklyn, and this beard just kind of came out of nowhere. I can actually shave it. It doesn't grow back overnight. But again, this is just sort of using our inspiration and just making absurd scenarios that can never exist in real life. And that's essentially the premise of Millennials of New York.
Yeah, we just mimic Humans of New York, essentially. That's our big thing, and we try to... But what we really like to do is we like to start them out so it sounds, usually, like to start them out so they sound like a Humans of New York post, and then you slowly realize that this is absolutely not. And that's why we take pictures that kind of like vaguely look like it. Because reading is boring, we also make a web series for all these or whatever, and we're going to show you a video so you don't have to read anymore.
Western medicine is painfully inadequate.
Kim Kardashian is actually a great businesswoman.
All my friends have started reading books on their iPads and Kindles, and to tell you the truth, I'm disgusted. Call me a Luddite, but I don't think you can truly appreciate a novel without having an actual physical copy in your hands. Collected works of Edgar Allan Poe, definitely one of his lesser works. I mean, what's the point of reading Ulysses on the subway if nobody's going to notice? That book makes literally no sense at all. People can't tell what's on your Kindle. All they know, you could be reading Mein Kampf or Harry Potter. In my apartment, I've actually positioned all my books so that the book is always visible. I've After all, it's so much harder to convince potential sexual partners that you're an intellectual when all your books are hidden in the cloud. That's why books are important. They help us remember our history. A history of trying to seem smart so that people will fuck you. Don't abandon that. Not yet.
So that was our debut episode of the web series that we filmed last fall. We ran 6 episodes from middle of December to middle of January, and we're currently working on our 2nd season right now. Really excited about that. It's been a lot of fun to sort of springboard from the cabins that we made and take it to sort of a new medium. And hopefully people enjoy it. I haven't seen that for about a month, and it's so funny, so that's
it's good. Okay, so like I guess a good way to start is like, what do we think of millennials? Basically,
we are millennials, so
yes, we're obviously millennials, and that's so we like ourselves. We also dislike a lot of the things we do. I mean, because millennials are lazy and they are apathetic, and their self-esteem is weirdly tied too much to whether or not a picture of a hot dog they posted gets 11 or more likes on Instagram. But the thing is, they're also like genuinely remarkable, right? The millennials are maybe like the most highly educated, politically motivated, and honestly like comedically literate group of people that the world has seen in a really long time, which is really exciting for us. But that's the big paradox, is that they're terrible and genuinely amazing. They do amazing stuff. So our goal with Millennials of New York is like pretty simple. We think millennials are great, and we just decided it's our job to ruthlessly make fun of all the terrible shit they get up to. But why do we like them, right? So if all we do is make fun of millennials, which is not all we do, but it is a huge, like it's our bread and butter. Why do people like it? And I think it's, we've come to realize that like one of the core aspects of this generation and just internet culture in general, because millennials is kind of synonymous with internet culture at this point, is that the generation really likes getting made fun of. Honestly, every single time we post something, almost all the comments are just people tagging their friends, being like, "That's me," even though the thing we're talking about is like not good. You know, it's like a big bummer sometimes. I mean, it's the light stuff. It's not like, "Oh, this person's racist," and they're like, "Yo, that's me, bro." But yeah, no, millennials have this thing. I think that a lot has to do with social media, but we think kind of that our weaknesses and our strengths are like equally good or equally beautiful and important and should be described and should be put out there constantly. Someone said the meme or whatever, "can't even," I can't even. Like, what does that mean? It literally means, and I said literally again, it means I'm inadequate. Like, I can't deal with this. I'm weak. I don't know what to do. That's a weird thing for everyone to be down with. Everyone just wants everyone to know that they can't live a normal life. They binge watch television. They're addicted to things. This is all the stuff we brag about constantly. And I think that's basically why this does well, is people like having their faults seen and kind of like bragging about them. Like, for example, when we asked the question about the name and phrase you stopped using, we said stopped like many years ago. Almost everyone said a phrase they're currently using and are ashamed about, but you're kind of proud of it too, you know? I'm going to say dope a bunch during this conversation, and I'm kind of bummed out that I say bummed out a lot of that I'm constantly saying that. I picked it up as kind of a joke, but I kept doing it, and then you start getting proud of your faults, and I think that's kind of a characteristic that's really sort of specific to this generation.
Yeah, and I think we've sort of explored millennials for the past year or so, and we're not experts by any means, but I think we've sort of honed in on the certain aspects of the generation that do set it apart and make it different. And for me especially, I think just authenticity and self-awareness seem to be one of the defining factors. So it's like Alec mentioned, you do have these traits that you know are bad. I mean, you do these things where, you get a text and you ignore it because you're too lazy and you'd rather just sit in bed for 4 hours instead of taking the 3 seconds to respond to your friend. And it's just easier, but I think it's when people see this, it's almost therapeutic and cathartic, is they see this caption and they know it's so absurd and that's never actually them, but they see the hint of truth in it, they read it, and they realize, okay, I'm not a perfect person, but they can make light of it. They're not self-critical about it, it's not going to ruin their day. And that's what we're trying to do, is trying to hone in on these certain aspects and just sort of magnify and maybe just make people think a little bit about what they do. We're not criticizing, we're not saying you're a bad person for doing it, and like Alex said, millennials have so many amazing qualities, but it's not fun to make fun of people who are doing objectively good things. Like, yeah, there's a lot of millennials who are sacrificing their time and going overseas. We had a coworker who spent a week in Syria helping refugees. It's like, we're not going to make fun of that, because that's great and fantastic, and there's no humor in disparaging that, but there is in finding these aspects of millennial culture that I think we can sort of all agree should probably be remedied a certain way.
Exactly, and we're the medicine. Okay, where are we at? What are we doing now?
So just to give a little bit of an origin and a background, I guess, about how we came to where we are today. Millennials of New York itself started as a post on Elite Daily, the website that we both write for. We originally wrote 10 to 12 captions attacking various aspects of millennial culture. We did brunch, we did Time Warner Cable, all the horror stories living in New York. And it got pretty good reception, and the original posts were just photoshopped fake Facebook posts, and we had fun putting them together. So we figured, you know what, let's make this a real page and kind of see what we can do with it.
I mean, we straight up forgot about it for like 3 weeks. Like,
yeah.
We just stopped writing that, and then we were just like, I don't know, this seems like a fun thing to do. And we kept doing it, and then super cool things happen. Like, we're very excited.
And so for us, originally it started, it was literally just finding a coworker who was willing to let us write terrible things about them and put on the internet forever, and dragging them outside and having them just stand in a block radius basically around our office and take a picture. So if you go back to our original 20 posts, you can probably tell the one block in the Flatiron District where all these photos were taken, because we didn't really feel like wandering because we were pretty lazy about it.
And at first, I mean, people just didn't know that it was fake, right? I mean, if you read carefully, you should know it's fake, but apparently people are either dumb or they don't read carefully. And so when you put someone's photograph out there, and you say something really specific about how they're terrible, a lot of people on the internet were just like, yeah, that's a real person. I hate that person. Let's all get around hating this person. So it took a lot of, we could only ask coworkers and friends to be in it because they needed the trust. We had to be able to get yelled at by them in order for it to work out.
And that's the thing, is we never wanted to put a disclaimer on our page that this is satire, because that's the number one way to murder satire, is letting people know that you're making fun of them. So our page is still marketed as true stories, but are real stories from real millennials living in New York City, and will always be presented as that because we enjoy fooling the internet and making fun of the stupid people that buy into it.
And we don't even have our names attached to it. Like we don't write. There's nothing written on there except that one sentence that this is real. And so nobody knows who we are. I mean, there are like articles written about us. That's
no big
cool.
deal.
It's just Vogue and MTV. It's not a big deal. News or whatever. But basically, we like to have it be as kind of vague as possible, right? So you have to like really look and kind of read and investigate to really actually get what's happening. I mean, if you're a smart person, you read one caption, you're like, oh, that's obviously fake. But there are layers. Some of them are. You kind of can't super tell, especially with certain Humans of New York posts that have come out recently that they're better than what we write. Yeah. I mean, they're just like someone saying some super insane shit about like their band.
There was one 2 months ago, and I remember this because someone sent it to me, and I said, "Did I write this and forget about it?"
Yeah, I was jealous. I was like,
it was a girl photographed in a subway station, and it was, I'm paraphrasing, but it was, "When I'm stressed out, sometimes I like to fix toilets." Is that weird? It's like a 2-sentence, and it's like, I could take all the drugs in the world and never come up with something that random and absurd. In that moment, I was like, damn you, Brandon Stanton, for doing what we can never do.
I think he's copying us.
There's no more. But also for us, we work on the internet, we work at Elite Daily. I worked on the internet since college. I was spending my classes writing for a blog instead of actually listening. And so for us, knowing what the internet is like and writing comedy on the internet can get a little frustrating because we all know certain websites that do certain things and boil things down to the lowest common denominator. And we've been part of the problem because we write online, and that's just it's inherent in the system. And so,
I mean, yeah, there was like a big. I think there was a big sort of like. This is the only reference I can think of. Gag reflex from the internet from to this culture of like 5 years ago, BuzzFeed and every site was doing really, really hyper positive stuff. It was just like, this is you, this is cool, this is fun. And then everyone started taking it down. Now everyone hates clickbait, and clickhole became a thing. First of all, if you guys ever read Clickhole, it's the best website on the internet. Don't read anything we write; they're better than us.
Yes.
But there's just been this giant backlash against basically internet culture and the hyper positivity of internet culture, and we fit squarely in that backlash, I guess, because we work for this website. They write silly things a lot of the time. We get bummed out about it.
We write those silly things.
We have to write those silly things, and we wanted to sort of hold the internet. And as I said, millennials and the internet are kind of interchangeable now, to task. And try to, just vent our grievances about modern culture and how silly it has become.
And so what was nice for us is we started the Facebook page, I believe, in June of last year. And the only promotion that we did was on our personal Facebook pages, just reblogging and sharing the posts that we made and begging our friends to validate us with likes and shares. And over the first few weeks, we posted every single day. We dragged a new coworker onto the sidewalk and spent 2 hours coming up with a caption for them. And it just started growing organically. People just seemed to respond to this style of humor. It's like Alec mentioned before, there was Humans of New York fatigue, and it's great and inspiring, but how inspired can you be before it sort of reaches saturation? And our goal has never been to parody Humans of New York explicitly. It's their form is just so good for comedy. It's this iconic style of picture placed next to this quote that you digest while looking this person in the face. And it's just a really great vehicle for us to sort of get our points across. And there's so many aspects of millennial culture to satirize, and it almost gets overwhelming trying to pick a certain angle or topic because there's just so many things looking at it broadly. It's like, what are millennials bad at? And there's 500 things that we could
Yeah, and then we started getting a little bit more ambitious in wanting to talk about, have a little bit more political content. Still, as I said, bread and butter is millennials are lame, they're silly, or whatever, and they love their phones and their Instagram, etc., all that jazz. But then we started satire is such an exciting way to participate in politics. It's my absolute favorite way to do it, just because you get to opt out of the system of rebuttal and argument. You just you say one thing.
You're right.
And someone can yell at you, but there's no way for you to respond. There's not even a medium for you to respond. And if you're we post a thing and someone hates it, right? They can't talk to us about it. They can comment on it, but we don't have a way to even talk back. We have to post another thing because we only do one thing. There's only one mode of dialogue we're engaging in. I think the next slide is one of our political things that
Watch out, we're getting edgy in here, you guys. Can you handle it? So, let's let you
I guess.
Do you want to read?
All right, so this is
For those of you who can't read.
Some people are reading. Okay, there's no such thing. So we would see a lot of guys on our comment section be like, "Fuck this! There's such a thing as white privilege. This is all dumb. Stop being assholes." So we're like, "We're gonna make fun of you."
Hey, why don't you stop being assholes?
It's your turn. It's your turn, dude. Okay, so there's no such thing as white privilege. Look, I've had more than a few run-ins with the police, and they're not very nice to me either. Just last weekend, I drunkenly grabbed the cop's gun, and even though I was obviously joking, he called me incredibly irresponsible and was super stern and passive-aggressive the entire time he was giving me a ride home.
I don't know how he does it.
That was honestly, we had a good reaction to this, which is weird, even from those dudes that were being shitty to us, and it's always dudes, it's straight up all. There's the worst people on our site are always men for some reason.
And the internet in general. Yeah.
And then we got really excited. We were like, we could do shit like this. We can make fun of anything. This model that we stumbled into. Also, we weren't the first parody of Humans of New York at all. The original idea for this was that we did it in Brainstorm. Was going to be Subway Rats of New York. We were like, that would be super weird.
It turns out it's really hard to get Subway Rats to pose for you. So we pivoted.
Yeah, they're always.
And we're like, hey, millennials are easier. So we went with that, and I think we probably want to run out of things about Subway Rats to make fun of.
We thought it was going to be very avant-garde and weird, and then we started doing this, and it turns out you get this. It's it's a super flexible model, which is what we really like. Cause we also got just bored of what we started doing, so now we're changing and just fucking around. But our comment section has gotten it first started, people either got it or they didn't get it, and and that was just basic. But now, as it's developed, our comment section has these types, we call them, that are really weird and hyper specific of how people are engaging with the jokes. And this is our taxonomy of comments.
We spent way too much time reading internet comments this week and went through the backlog of most of our posts and just tried to pick apart the types of commenters that we have and sort of this little ecosystem of jokes and idiocy that takes place underneath every photo that we post. And I think we basically analyzed most of it.
Yeah, we got it.
Here are our findings. So the first one is people who get the joke. I mean, this is very self-explanatory. You see it, you understand it's satire, you like, or maybe you react with them new Facebook's reaction emojis. And that's basically it. You move on, you get it, you maybe share it with your friends, you talk about it, but there's nothing much beyond that. Mm-hmm. The second type,
people who don't get the joke and think the quote is real, right? So this one of the reasons we're very popular is we had one post that everyone thought was real, and it had like 30,000 likes on it, and it is the darkest thing in the world that people thought this was real, because it's about, it involves a girl who thought she hooked up with two different black guys, but it turns out it was the same one just wearing a hat one time. And this is hilarious.
Which is also based on a true story.
But I exaggerated it.
One of the examples where we take from real life. But yeah, these are far too common. These are the ones that make us sad when we see them, because these usually happen probably 3 or 4 after we posted originally, when the post has gone on to normal Facebook, where there's a lot of American flag pictures and aunts getting medical advice in the comments, and so those are the kind of people that sort of gravitate to our post and write 3 paragraphs about everything that's wrong with this person, millennials, and society in general. So if you're ever looking to get pissed off at the world in general, just wade down into our comment section, especially if it's tackling some sort of controversial topic. We had a Donald Trump post recently, so I'm sure you'll find all sorts of gems in that one. The next type is the people who get the joke and yell at the people who think the quote is real. So
this is our shit. This is why we've like got any followers. Like, there's nothing more gratifying for people on the internet apparently of like getting a joke and other people not getting it, and they get to tell them they didn't get it. They're just the happiest, most like obnoxious people.
So we have what we call essentially the Moni satire army.
Yeah.
Is whenever we post a picture, you can be guaranteed there's going to be a person who doesn't get the joke and thinks the quote is real, and as soon as they post that comment, there are going to be probably 6 or 7 instantaneously responses from people who go, "It's satire, bro. Satire much? Looked like someone missed the satire."
Yeah.
And just different variations.
Like there's just like 100 people like someone just being like, "Satire, bro," and they're just like, "We all get it. This fucking dork doesn't get it. This mom isn't in the know." At one point, I wrote as a joke with my own Facebook account, so people don't know my name or whatever, but I wrote like. Basically, "Is this real?" And I just got 1,000 people being like, "You're an idiot. We all hate you." Next.
So we have the people who pretend to think the quote is real.
So now we can start getting into our weird layers of like...
Strap in. We're going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. So these people are like... I guess that was me, just now. I pretended to think it was real and I thought it was funny. People love doing this. It's a fun thing to do because they're satiring the comment section of the satire. It gets complicated. But it also is very misleading to a lot of people. And then it also begets the next group.
People who get the joke and yell at the people who are only pretending to think it's real. So, this is where we have 2 or 3 levels of meta-ness and miscommunication, where you're not really sure what's going on. The people who pretend to think the quote is real, you never really know if they actually pretend to think the quote is real. There's varying levels of absurdity, so you get people who will add on to our thing, but there are other people who will just take the position of the people who don't get the joke and think the quote is real and go after the people in the picture. And so, over time, we sort of developed a sixth sense for figuring out who is who. But for the most...
But we thought we did.
But we thought we did.
Well, because this is like 2 people who get it. But one person...
They want to out-get each other.
The one person doesn't understand, the other one does, and it just gets embarrassing. It's just upsetting. And then it gets even more terrible.
Should we go to the next level?
Yeah, please. Okay, so people who get the joke and are pretending to yell at people who are pretending to think it's real. So this 100% happens. Like, it seems so insane, but it's a person's these people are both satirizing these people, which is the most elaborate, like, get a life commentaries, like, go do something else. And it's so hard to tell sometimes, though, right? Like, this is the one you're able to tell sometimes, but the next group is just like...
This is my personal favorite.
It's amazing.
It's the best thing in the entire world. It's just people can't figure out. It's
like you just don't know.
You don't know.
Some people, the people that are better at satire than us, or hyper dumb, right? And like it's so the line between them is just like so frail and
there's afternoons where I spent 15 minutes going through someone's Facebook profile, seeing where they went to school, which websites they like, which movies they enjoyed, just trying to get a read for who they are genuinely down low. And there's certain cases where I've been convinced someone started their own Facebook profile just to troll us, making the type of person that we think that they would be, even though they're not the actual person that they are. And then I just have to go home for the day and stop thinking because it just gets to be too much.
Yeah, I mean we love the comment section because you get to. I mean, okay, so imagine like in your life you're a person on the internet, you constantly look at comment sections, they're super weird, right? And then suddenly you make something and then you've got your own comment section, right? And it's just got all the craziness in it that you see on other people's pages or whatever on websites, but it's just about you, and suddenly you just get so fascinated by it. Unfortunately, then bad things happen, right? So this is the bad thing that happened to us. We had this post, which what is great, and
Honestly, I watch a ton of porn. I'm not embarrassed to say that. After all, the best thing about porn is it shows you how sex is supposed to be done. Like, if I'd never seen any porn before, I totally would have never known that girls really love it when you sex on them, like an arranged construction worker frantically drilling through concrete to reach a broken water main. Or that, like, all women are attracted with facial hair that says, yes, I've tried meth and have agreed that I'm corrupt.
So this caption is, it's like, it's making fun of porn culture, right? And how, I mean, people grow up and they watch porn constantly and they kind of get confused about like what good sex is supposed to be like. Also, just that porn is crazy, right? I mean, it's fun, super fun, but it's super nuts.
I have a question for you. Is that blurred thing porn?
Well, yeah. Okay, so. This is the director of our web series, so like, say hi to him or whatever. He wished he was here. We didn't invite him. Okay, so, all right, so we'll kind of get to. I don't want to give it away.
We'll go back to it then. Okay, so in our last, we'll go back to the taxonomy. We had someone come into the comment section who was a person who didn't get the joke and think that the quote is real. Unfortunately, this person was not a person. This person was a Facebook page called Fight the New Drug, which is an anti-pornography organization with over 1 million followers on Facebook, dedicated to ending porn because they believe it is killing love and romance, which you may have noticed is very similar to the quote that we fucking put up here.
So yeah, so they got mad at us because they thought we were saying porn's awesome, we love porn, everything porn is cool, right? But the quote is actually saying porn is crazy, what is with this? They misunderstood it. And they decided to get, also their slogan, porn kills love. Which is like,
they thought it was super uncool and asked if we were serious. It was a mystery to us too. And we posted this 3:45 on a Friday in the middle of, in September, which is like, it was 65 degrees out. We got out of work an hour early. We just wanted to go home. I go on Facebook on the subway and I see that we're being essentially attacked and brigaded by this Fight the New Drug army who is going toe-to-toe with the Millennials of New York army in our comment section. It was one of the most surreal experiences of my entire life.
So they got like, I mean, we had...
And the thing is, they put this on their Facebook page, told people to come to us and tell us how they feel about it. And in their comment section, half their followers are saying, hey guys, it might be satire. And you think at that point, when you can Google Millennials of New York and see the 15 articles that have been written about us being a satirical page making fun of millennials, they would have scaled back. But no, they decided to double down.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we don't have the screenshots, but it just got really out of control.
So they decided that their argument originally was that we were saying porn was great, which first of all, porn is great, but we were making fun of in this specific post. And then they realized they fucked up, but they'd gotten so much traffic from this post of theirs that they can't let go. I mean, it was a microcosm of what's wrong with journalism in general on the internet, is that something's doing well, you can't just let it go, you gotta keep stoking that fire. So they made it become about that we were normalizing porn, whatever that is.
By mentioning it.
By mentioning
By acknowledging the existence of porn.
Because the logic didn't really need to make sense as long as they were able to continue having people talk about it and go on their site and get frothed up about it. But one of their big complaints was that we'd shown porn. We pixelated it, but we'd shown it. Because anything pixelated is porn, right? That has to be porn. This photograph is a photograph of me and my sister when we're toddlers on tricycles.
Which you may know is not porn. And so at this point, it was basically, I finally understood what it was like to be in a Kafka story. Basically. We were just dealing with just this hordes of people streaming to our comment section. At one point, someone took this picture, photoshopped fake semen onto his face, and posted it into our comment section and said, "How do you feel now?" And 5 minutes later, the post was taken down by Facebook because it had been reported as obscene.
Not the semen post, our post.
This post right here was deleted. This
Because
post does not exist on the internet anymore.
Yeah.
At all.
They had 2,000 people reported as offensive, and if you do that, if you get a ton of people to do that, Facebook just takes it down.
Democracy!
There's no recourse really, and they were like, "We're gonna shut down your site if you don't do it." Like an automatic thing, and then so we were like, "Oh, all right." We took a lot of effort not to repost, and then Connor did some light drunk yelling at the guy in the message. On his message later, but we don't need to show
we challenged him to a public debate, which they politely declined. So hopefully, if we ever just get the funds to fly to their office and confront them, we'll make a video out of that. But that was basically, we just wanted to find sort of the case study of commenting gone wrong.
Okay, and so and this brings us to actually one more group of commenters, right? And
I forgot the translation.
or just people that are engaging with the site. And these are people who got the joke, but they don't like that we joked about it, right? It's not there are a lot of specific examples of just this is where you get in trouble with comedy, right? If you say something and you joke about it and they think that there's a topic you shouldn't joke about, that's a totally legitimate thing to think. Personally, I think usually I'm really right about it and I can joke about everything I think that I did right or whatever. But sometimes we get in these really interesting discussions, or we see interesting discussions. People are like, "You shouldn't joke about this." There's a time when satire isn't useful and humor isn't useful, and we should just be serious.
And there are about two levels of this. There's one type, and we got a message last week from someone who sees the page Millennials of New York and assumes that it's a Humans of New York about millennials. And when they discover that it's satirical, they get mad at us for not being the page that they want us to be.
Yeah.
Which is one of the most fascinating things in the entire world, is I'm sorry that I'm not the page you were expecting, and I'm sorry that you're mad that we didn't create this thing you wanted. That's probably less common than this specific example.
That's uncool. Super uncool.
Very super uncool.
As Porn Kills Love explains. But the other group is people that get it and they're just like, you shouldn't do that, right? So we got this happened to us recently. Remember Humans in New York did that letter to Trump, right? That long letter to Trump, which is super cool. It's about I keep saying super cool. I think I'm from Utah, but and I really liked it. I was like, this is awesome. He's got 17 million people he gets to send this message out to. That's really great.
And as a comedy site,
then we decided
who parodies Humans of New York. I mean, I got messages from 5 people within a half hour saying, "What are you guys going to do to parody this?"
So,
and that's the thing, is we agreed with the message. I mean, we thought he was right, but we make a living making fun of Humans of New York, basically, and taking.
We don't make fun of it. We use its model, right?
Using their
to make fun
of
other shit, right? So there's this amazing new model, which is this open letter that's trending all over the internet. So it's a really exciting, avenue that we can fucking ride down and have a good time in. So we decided to do this thing where I copy-pasted the entire article, and I kind of mad-libbed it to just change its content to specifically an article to Kim Kardashian from Millennials about how we should stop paying attention to the election and just go back to doing what we do best, which is talking about celebrities. As millennials, that's what we're interested in. And the big issue is, which of your sisters is the hottest? And we'd like her help in deciding. So this whole like parody, or the whole parody is about us criticizing, millennials and just internet in general as being distracted by celebrity culture, even while they're frothing in the mouth about Donald Trump. So we thought it was a really good kind of awesome point to make that, like, yeah, Donald Trump is really terrible, but people are still, our website, Leak Daily, is run by Kim Kardashian. That's like everything that like every article about her does amazingly well. They just made a new Facebook page that was specifically, like an Elite Daily Facebook page that specifically doesn't have Kardashian content in it. That's all it doesn't have. That's its only thing that makes it different from the normal stuff. So like celebrity culture is at its absolute peak, and honestly, one of the big problems that we've had in politics in general is that we can't stop looking at it, or we can't help ourselves. So we decided to use that format to make fun of that, right?
So the good news is we gained, 3,000 followers because of it?
Yeah, and we lost like 2,500 followers.
And so these were sort of a sampling of the feedback that we got. And not to toot our own horn, but for most posts that we put up, the feedback is pretty unanimously positive. And that was...
Yeah, but we had this, so we had like, this is we don't get that much like straight, like people like gathering around and like being like, you shouldn't have done this, except for this post. And so we want to talk about it so you guys can have your opinion about it, basically. Basically saying like, I think even the time for satire has passed when it comes to Donald Trump. And I think that's actually a pretty good point in a lot of ways. I think that Donald Trump's his secret weapon is that he's hilarious and that he's so silly that it's very difficult to take him seriously and get pissed off and get like seriously pissed off versus just making fun of him because he has like the top of his head is like out of focus and orange. So so that's his big issue, right? So that's a legitimate thing to say. Unfortunately, I personally think that we were not making fun of him in any way. I think we're making fun of all of us, how distractible we are, which kind of gets into the whole idea of how Donald Trump is doing well is he's so distracted. It doesn't matter what he's saying, it's like how he's saying it. He's a comedian. Donald Trump's big thing is that like he's funny. And people like that. It doesn't matter if he says something offensive as long as he says it in a fun way. And people get really excited about that. So we got lots of shit for it here. And we'd kind of like to hear what you guys have to say about that, I guess. Is there a time when satire doesn't add anything? Isn't useful? Should we talk about that now?
just for 1 minute, just quick opinions, yeah.
Well, I've had this thing with Stephen Colbert, which I stand, I think, in opposition with a lot of my friends, where I think the character that Stephen Colbert portrays normalizes a lot of racism and a lot of bigotry. Obviously, his character is making fun of it, and I get the joke, but I feel like the way he portrays his character, I'm not from the U.S. I wasn't born here. I moved here 3 years ago. I learned how to be racist from Stephen Colbert.
Well, it makes it non-threatening, right? He makes racism not scary.
Right.
But okay,
but he also teaches stereotypes because he makes fun of them. He uses stereotypes to make fun of them, and in that way he teaches what those stereotypes are.
That's our
What do you guys think about that? You.
Just a few words. Last year, with the attacks of Charlie Hebdo in France, we had a huge debate about this exact problem.
Yeah.
How can we make fun of religion and stuff like that? So I don't have the answer at all, but I think the good way to tackle this problem is to be aware of the oppressive humor or not oppressive humor.
And I think that's the issue for us is, we obviously have sort of a standard for every post that we put out, and we stand by everything, and we think that it's funny, and we'll defend it. But that's our issue, too, is, we've had certain posts where you don't know if people are going to respond, and for us, too, it's the people that don't understand the humor and read into it seriously, and that is sort of dangerous when we sort of perpetuate these ideas that we're making fun of. But you can look at the Fight the New Drug as the same example. It's the people that don't take it seriously. Those are the most dangerous people.
Well, the big issue is that I personally think so. to go to your thing about Colbert, right? That he teaches stereotypes. I think that like those stereotypes that he's teaching, someone coming from outside the country would learn them, right? But when you're in this country's like built on them, right? It's like in our blood. Stereotype and like racism is like part of what this country is. So it's super shorthand. All the things he's talking about, and the issue I think comes in basically is that when I think that comedy kind of is the prism with which certain people can deal with certain subjects. It's very hard to have a conversation about race, period, in this country, in a way like, and for some reason, for some people, comedy is the only way that they can really do that they can really engage with it and have complex ideas that aren't just it's bad, right? So that's personally what I think about what's awesome about comedy. Also, you get in a lot of trouble, clearly.
There's just one tiny thing Chris Rock said about punching up instead of punching down, and I feel like when I see comedy and when I was like, I like this or I don't like that, that's really the metric that I use.
Yeah, but Colbert, what do you think he's punching down at? I think he's punching up at like structural racism and
not
the GOP or
whatever. Sometimes he punches down.
Yeah, comedy does punch everywhere, literally. But Chris Rock punches down hard sometimes. But that's a really good, I think, rule. You had your hand.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think that is another way of saying what I was thinking, is that if the satire here were aimed at the same message that, like the Donald Trump message, which is something that's worthwhile and something that's important that people obviously think Humans of New York has a right to say.
Yeah.
If the satire was aimed at that, then I don't think there would have been like this much ire. But the satire was aimed at the process of voicing political opinions and like dismissing a bigot on an open social media website, and I think that's what people, because I think it's kind of a punch down.
From a logistical point of view, part of our rationale is we had done a post a week before, and again, I'm paraphrasing, but it was a girl who said, the Donald Trump campaign is a lot like the Tila Tequila tattoo that I got in college. It was funny at first, meant to be ironic, but now there's nothing I can do to get rid of it. And so we had sort of already made our anti-Trump post, and that was, I think, our goal, and that's where things got a bit muddy, was we decided to take it a different route, and it was just how it was perceived.
And personally, we got frustrated with it. So this Humans of New York thing comes out, right? And every single person is just sharing it, right? And then kind of just like going about their business, right? I think we have this tendency on the internet, especially, to just think that we're being politically active if we just share or if we like, but not actually doing a thing, right? So we wanted to hold people to task and say like it's still not enough. What you're doing, you're still being distracted by the internet, by celebrities, by all this kind of stuff, and Trump's success is caused by the same thing that you do with Kim Kardashian, with celebrity culture in general. So that was our basic point. But does that distract from the original message? Like, should it be made more complicated because it might not be as like streamlined? His like anti-Trump thing. Does that make it less streamlined, and like does it make it less effective? I personally think that like we're not big enough to make anything he says less effective, and that things we said needed or doesn't need nothing. We don't need to do anything, but it was good to say personally. But what do you think?
But I feel like those kinds of posts are probably the ones that are most true. I think as much as our generation gets criticized for a lot of things, we can brush them off quite easily. Mm-hmm. But I think our generation is quite used to being criticized, and I guess truthfully for like not voting and not actually voicing and being active politically, and I think and easily being distracted and just not really going through with our feelings, right? And I think this is a reaction to that, of actually being called out on something that
I think it made people more angry than they weren't cool with accepting that as part of themselves. They were the criticism of themselves, like they couldn't be proud of in any way. That kind of like hurt and kind of interrupted the high of being in the right and doing something they think was right, which is sharing or whatever. We have a video specifically about this culture of like of sharing and liking, and that being enough. People think that's enough privilege. I mean, and I'm so guilty of it. I straight up just like see something, I'm like, shared that, and I'm like, I'm a good person today. It's good. But I go here to like try to hold myself
and I think this sort of brings us to our final point, and sort of this was nice for us to do because this was the first chance we got to sit down and take a long look at sort of ourselves and what we've done over the past year or so, and sort of figure out why it works, why people like it, and the last question we asked ourselves is, at the end of the day, like, what are we trying to do with Millennials of New York? And I think, for me, from the beginning, our philosophy has always just been to be funny. We want to do something that we're proud of, that amuses us, and hopefully shows up on someone's Facebook page or on an Instagram feed. And even if they only see it and it makes their day better for 5 seconds, you know what? Great. If someone else sees something and it sort of sparks them to make a giant change in their life, reconsider things, that's great too. But at the end of the day, we're trying to entertain. But we also know that with this platform does come responsibility, like we just talked about. And there is an underlying mandate and sort of a message and something that we have to push.
And also, we kind of just go wherever we just like see like a hot target, right? So the internet makes you so mad constantly, and it's just so fun and nice that we have an outlet for just like venting our anger at something, right? And a lot of the thing that we get angry about is just privilege, right? And privilege of lots of different ways it can be mostly it's wealth. Or we really target middle class white urbanites.
Yeah, Millennials in New York, it goes after certain problems and issues, and we're not looking at the problems with lack of government subsidies at farms in Iowa and how that impacts the younger generation of farmers. Because
we should though.
That was your next caption. But that's not very relatable, and it's not a very broad topic. And so, yeah, we are attacking these things that are located in New York. I mean, millennials in New York are the people that we surround ourselves with and that inspire us on a daily basis. And so that's where it comes from, our inspiration. And so we are attacking this very specific sort of subset of the millennial. But yeah, and I think it goes to something as innocuous as having to ride the subway or having to deal, like I said, with Time Warner, all the way up to having to not being able to be a female comedian stand-up because every time you go on stage, you're treated like an inferior by your male peers. Or the guy, we have a post about a guy that can't go jogging through Central Park because he's black and he gets stopped by the cops because they think he robbed a sporting goods store. Like, it's these things that we try to make light of, but at the same time, these are serious issues and they need, a dialogue needs to happen. And we know that we're not the ones to sit down and actually philosophize how to solve things, but if anything, we can just shine a light on the problem and hopefully magnify it at least a little bit.
Yeah, and honestly, we've been pleasantly surprised. So we shit on our commenters a lot, but like, people are pretty smart. A lot of people on the internet have really good opinions and are like interested in like opening a dialogue about things in comedy, which is so exciting because so much of the comedy on the internet and comment sections is just like people saying offensive slurs, and they think that's like a fun trolly joke to say. So we were really pleasantly surprised in this whole experience, and I think that's that.
Yeah, so that's right. So thank you for dealing with us. We hope you're able to inform and shine a little bit of light on Millennials of New York and sort of just internet comedy and satire in general. And we do have a brief activity for you guys.
We got a game.
So in my hand I have 10 separate pictures and captions that have appeared on the Facebook page for Millennials of New York. We would like you to take the pictures and the captions.
We'll split into groups, right?
Yeah, we have 10, so I trust you guys to figure it out. You all seem like smart people. But we just wanted to take a few minutes.